Oh, here we go. Who have we got? Alex again, Stu, Erie, Johannes, and Lisa, Merritt, Lynn, great, Linda Weatherly, not on the sofa. Keith Haynes, hey, great to see you, Keith. Isabel, Stephanie Harrison. Hey, Stephanie, thank you for my book. Who else we got? Deb, Sue Hart, Ken James, Nanda, Captain Dale, Jonathan Clark, Sylvie, Captain Dale. Now we can actually see him there. Frank, great to see you again. Frank, long time no see. Since Frank did coaching session, achievement coaching boot camp last weekend. Yeah, Roger's on his way in. Adrian and Romania. Brilliant. Great to see you all. And if I don't say hello to everybody, it's because I can't see everybody on my screen. So, the Spiritual Entrepreneur, episode 6. How do we create a holistic spiritual entrepreneur business? So, the key thing is to remember these 4 levels that we talked about in episode number 1. The level of the spiritual body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the physical body. I've done the mental body here in green because from a colors point of view, the mental body would be sky blue, the emotional body would be Pacific Ocean blue, and we don't have those differentiations in flip chart pens. So another color that would be used for the mental body and therefore the air element would be green. Okay, so that's why it's green here. So we got those 4 bodies, or as we talked about before, more correctly, the 7 bodies. Now, here's the thing with this. Everything is created the same way. So you have 7 bodies, 4 bodies, and everything else does too. Everything's correct, and everything has 3 minds. So your business, for it to be balanced from a spiritual and esoteric point of view, we also need to recognize that it's got 4 bodies, or if not 4 bodies, then 7 bodies. That's what we need to, that's what we want to work on this week. So with what we've talked about so far, let me just move my camera a little bit so you can see me there. The spiritual body, higher self, that's your purpose. Life purpose is in your spiritual body. Then in the mental body, purpose really answers the why. Why are you doing this spiritual entrepreneur business? It's bigger than you. It's bigger than anything in your universe. Mental body, is goals. It's what do you want to achieve? What do you want to create with your spiritual entrepreneur business? Emotional body, then what we've got in the emotional body, unconscious mind, is obviously your values and beliefs. And once we've released negative emotions, using the techniques we talked about last week, then positive emotions like motivation, joy, satisfaction, all driving down through here into the physical, and the physical really, and the emotional, is the how you're going to do it, and the physical action that you're going to take. So what we want to do is to do all of these things on all levels to create a business which is balanced. Now, from a spiritual entrepreneur point of view, I've written on this now. I think I can probably still fit things in. This arrow here, which goes from the physical to the spiritual, would be, from a spiritual development point of view, probably called lesson of life. If you want to be spiritual, you've got to give up the physical. Give up the trappings of the physical world, money, businesses. Go, live in a cave and meditate for the rest of your life. Lesson of life. This one here, which is what we're talking about from a spiritual entrepreneur point of view, lesson of mastery. To bring the spiritual down into the physical. That's what Stuart Wilde was talking about when he said making a lot of money was a hands-on spiritual experience. That's the lesson of mastery. To bring this infiniteness of pure spirit down through all 7 levels of creation. That's the lesson of mastery. And it's having all of these things. So your business, just like you, has 7 planes of existence. And our goal as a spiritual entrepreneur is to balance and actualize all of those 7 planes of existence, not only for you as a spiritual entrepreneur, but also you personally. Yeah. And for your business, which is really what we've been talking about. So that is the blueprint for how you bring your purpose, your spiritual purpose, into reality in the physical plane. We already talked last week about where the conscious mind's in here, unconscious mind's in here, higher self is in here. We already talked about that and how we bring those into alignment. Now we're talking about how do you bring these things into alignment in your business. And then you'll be the spiritual entrepreneur. That's the blueprint. After all the stuff we've covered for the last couple of weeks, you might be going, is it as simple as that? Yep, it is as simple as that. Simple doesn't necessarily mean easy. And it is as simple as that. With everything we've talked about so far. So, Sally, I think we got some questions from last week. And then we'll see if we've got any questions from this week. From that very brief amount of content, but that's it really.
Yeah, we do have questions from last week. I'm just pulling them up. Well, Adrian, do you want to ask your question?
Adrian's here, so let's take Adrian's question.
Hi, David. Hi, Sally. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Adrian.
After reviewing last week's session, I was wondering with respect to communication to the higher self, because I've done Huna level 1, I had the experience of the higher self connection, and there are times when I'm sure that I am getting answers from the higher self, other times when it's not so clear. So I was wondering if, considering that the unconscious mind communicates with the higher self, and you can ask the unconscious mind questions and get answers through the pendulum, for instance. I was wondering if you could use the pendulum to ask your higher self questions through the unconscious mind, and then the unconscious mind relays the answers through the movements of the pendulum.
Okay, that's a good question, Adrian. Yeah, so yes, you can do that. What you'd first do is set up pendulum questions with your unconscious mind. And then what you do is ask your unconscious mind to activate the connection with your higher self. Then, obviously, pendulum, you're only going to be able to do yes/no questions, binary questions. So you'd ask your unconscious mind to actualize that connection with your higher self. Then, obviously, it's not your higher self that's moving the pendulum. It's your higher self via your unconscious mind, because your unconscious mind controls your body. So, Adrian, your question has just brought so much stuff I need to teach. So you've got the mind's higher self, conscious mind, unconscious mind, and we know they're connected like this. And they live in these bodies, right? So, and each of the lower minds have free will. So your unconscious mind has free will with regard to your conscious mind and your higher self. Your conscious mind has free will over your higher self. So although your higher self could make everything right in your world, it can't do it for you. It has to be asked, which is related to the question you're asking. The higher mind controls the body below. So your higher self controls the mental body. Your conscious mind controls your emotional body. Sorry, not controls, is in charge of. And therefore, your unconscious mind is in charge of your physical body. And you're asking your physical body to give signals from your higher self. So signals from your higher self have to come through the unconscious mind, which is important with what we talked about last week, that we clear the path in the unconscious mind. So then your higher self is in a place where everything's perfect because your higher self is perfect. So this is where we ask the questions of the higher self via our unconscious mind. They're going to come back via the unconscious mind too, and with the pendulum via the physical pendulum signal. And your higher self is at the level of perfection. So if you were out doing huna in Hawaii and you said, higher self, should I move to Hawaii? Then it would say, yes, perfect. If you were here in the UK and you said, higher self, should I move to Manchester? It would say, yes, perfect. So, yes, Adrian, we can absolutely do what you said. I'm just going to let somebody else into the room here. Absolutely, you can use the pendulum, and we have to be very careful about how we phrase the question.
Right.
So the way we ask the question would be, unconscious mind, ask our higher self, would moving to Hawaii, or for that matter, Tenerife, be in alignment with my true spiritual purpose, evolution, and destiny? Then you could possibly get a no answer. Whereas if you don't ask questions that way, you'll always get a yes, which causes, Sally moved to Hawaii for 6 months and she didn't like it. And this is why she's back. So that's an important thing about how we phrase questions to our higher self.
I assume that precisely because I know, and you mentioned this, if you just randomly ask things to the higher self, it's going to say, yes, perfect, everything is
Yep.
wonderful. May I ask a follow-up question which popped to
Sure.
mind now that you mentioned the importance of clearing? I mean, I know you mentioned it last time, and it was sort of lingering at the back of my mind. Now I can articulate it because I know we have layers and layers of negative emotions. I remember you were saying, well, you did a level of clearing when you went practitioner and then master practitioner and so on and so forth, and it's continuous in your life, and now you experience even more intense or negative emotions or limiting beliefs you wouldn't have imagined previously before doing NLP, but now you're working on goals you wouldn't have imagined before.
Yep.
How do you know that you've done enough clearing for the connection between the unconscious mind and the higher self to be, I don't know, fluid, let's say?
Yeah. Yeah. Good question again. You feel balanced. So if you're asking a question, and the question brings up negative emotions for you, then you have some more stuff to release. If you're thinking of like, okay, so is this what I'm meant to go for or not? And it's just a pure question. The kind of analogy I use is if somebody asks you the time, you go 6 minutes to 8. There's no emotion around it. There's no belief around it. It's just a fact. So you want to be able to ask your unconscious mind and your higher self a question in a way where it's the same as, excuse me, could you tell me the time? It's now 7:55, 5 minutes to 8. And there's no emotion around it. There's no kind of, are you sure? Yeah, no, I'm sure. Look. Then your unconscious mind is being careful around this word. I'm not going to. So it's an open channel. There's no filtering in either direction. What time is it? Now it's 4 minutes to 8. 7:56, depending where you are in the world, and that's just the way it is. That, you know, it's like, so that's your internal calibration on that communication.
Right.
Does that answer your question, Adrian?
Yes, it perfectly answers the question. So if I get it right, you're asking from a neutral place.
Yep.
No negative emotions whatsoever, like drawing boundaries.
Yes. Yeah. Could say neutral, balanced, any of those kind of things. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Adrian. Sally, I think we had another question from last week, didn't we?
Yeah. So, hang on one sec. I just need to re-log in. So questions from Carrie were going on from what you said about the unconscious mind animal. If we were animals before we were human, where does ancestral trauma fit in, if at all?
Okay. Woo. So, Carrie, I don't think I don't know if you're online or not. If you're
She
not, that's
isn't.
okay. So in the recording, so Carrie, what I said was that in this lifetime, in certain models, spiritual models, your unconscious mind was the unconscious mind of an animal in your unconscious mind's last lifetime. Ancestral memories, past life memories, genealogical memories would be in your higher self. Though now there's a mounting, and all of these bodies here are mirrors of each other. They're not separate. So ancestral memories, past life memories, etc., would be in our higher self, which is in the spiritual body, and that will come down to here, which is now where we're getting a mounting amount of evidence that there is such a thing called cellular memory. And the cellular memory now appears to be in our DNA. And so now there's evidence that when one of our physical ancestors had a traumatic event, that traumatic event actually changed their DNA, which is then passed on from generation to generation, so that the future generations can learn from the previous generations. So that's where ancestral memories or whatever would be stored in, now it seems, in a person's physical DNA, but from that model, they would be in the higher self. I think we've got something else. Trina is coming in from Canada. Wow. Hi,
So
Trina.
the second part of
Hello.
Hey, babe.
Hello.
The second part of that question was, we access our unconscious mind through experience, and experience is the domain of the unconscious mind.
Yep.
So is it our conscious mind or unconscious mind that creates interpretation of the experience and decides whether it's positive or negative?
Yes. That was an easy question to answer.
Okay. So next up is Roger.
Roger, I bet your question's not as easy to answer as that one. Which is why I love your questions, Roger.
Thank you for that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind flicking back to your other graphic?
That one?
Yeah. It's another AD type question. So at the spiritual level, we're talking about highest purpose and why. Really comfortable with that. Goals, it's all about specifying, you know, in terms of putting your future in your timeline, what you actually want, associating with that. I kind of get that.
Yeah.
And I certainly get that the physical is how you actually do it. But as per conversations I'm afraid we've had before as a project manager and all the rest of it, where I sit, is emotional part of the how question?
Yes.
So can I just test my understanding where you've picked me up before? What I would do conventionally as a project manager, you skimp over the why, you make assumptions about what's needed. So you set some goals and you go big into the how, and you put a micro managed plan together and
Yep.
work on the delusion that if you follow that plan, you can't go wrong.
Right.
And you asked me which of my plans actually went right, and you got some abuse. So let's say I've bought into you. So is it my understanding you set the why, the mental bit is where you are absolutely specific about what the goals are associated with
Yes.
so what it is you actually want, be really, really clear on that. And
Yeah.
then the how is acting in compliance with cause, the natural laws of universal laws of cause and effect to achieve the goals, but through the emotional mental level. Have I got that right? So you don't, in other words, the last thing you want to do is plan things to death. You just want to say what you want, set them on your timeline, which would translate into a number of milestones on a plan, but you don't say all the tasks that you're going to do in micro level. Am I making sense?
Yep. So conscious mind, goal setter, answering the question, two questions actually, what and when. Unconscious mind, goal getter, and if we were to merge these two models and to complete the lesson of mastery. So goal achievement is a process of the lesson of mastery, or in NLP, is the process of chunking down. How to take a idea from your conscious mind all the way down into the physical. I'm going to go and step out of the realm of what we've been talking about, Roger. The tarot. This is perfectly symbolized in the tarot. So the Fool is the infinite consciousness of your higher self. Yep, pure infinite spiritual energy. The magician, look at where the magician, the magician is the conscious mind actually. And he's pulling down from his right hand the energy of the Fool, higher self, and channel it through his left hand. To the high priestess, which is the unconscious mind. when the magician conscious mind successfully impregnates the unconscious mind of the high priestess with a goal, she becomes the empress and she becomes pregnant. When the high priestess gives birth, then the magician becomes the emperor. Because as the magician and the high priestess, they are potential mum and dad. When the goal is born, they become actually mum and dad, emperor and empress, and then they rule their kingdom, which is the one that they created as the magician and high priestess.
Got it.
That's, I wasn't planning to cover that tonight, but Roger, you asked such great questions that I end up teaching all kinds of stuff.
No, that is really phenomenal. Thanks so much.
And then people think that these are about fortune telling. No.
Thanks a lot.
And Alex, I could see that you love that.
Oh,
I am over them. I'm having an orgasm, basically.
For free,
For free.
online, at a distance.
And actually, Alex is the next question.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I'm worried now.
You gotta laugh, haven't you?
Absolutely.
What am I saying, Sally?
Your question was about whether the 7 bodies were related to the chakras.
Oh yes. Oh, the 7 bodies, the chakras, in fact.
Yes. Yes, they are, because each of these bodies here are actually lower emotional, upper emotional, lower mental, upper mental, lower spiritual, upper spiritual. So yeah, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And of course, I was just thinking that each level, each spiritual level, has those 3 elements in it. The higher self, the conscious mind, and the unconscious mind is in every one of those levels. So in the physical, in the emotional, in mental and spiritual, they all have those 3 elements, yes?
Yes, so everything's created with 7 bodies. And everything has 3 minds.
Yeah.
So on our Huna trainings, you know, we teach how to see energy. And quite often people are freaked out because they go, the waste paper basket has an aura. Whereas people go like, okay, people have got auras, trees have got auras, but a waste paper basket? Well, yeah, because everything's created in 7 levels: the physical and the non-physical. Funny story was in our early days when we were teaching Huna. We didn't have an office. we had a cheap dot matrix printer, but we didn't have a photocopier. So we would print off the manual, then I would go down to the local chemist in a place in London called Acton, which was not the most salubrious place in the world at that time. And the chemist had a photocopier, so I could photocopy all the manuals. And I get there, and the photocopier is broken down. And the training, HUNA training, is starting tomorrow. So I say to the guy, where's the next closest place that has a photocopier? And it was miles away. Didn't have a car at that point in time. So I thought, I can't get to print these manuals off. What we're going to do for the training tomorrow? Then I thought, okay, the photocopier has a higher self. So I had my higher self contact the higher self of the photocopier, say that we got this majorly spiritually enlightening training running at the weekend, and could it work just as long as we were able to print off the manuals? I put the paper in, I pressed the button, and it copied. And I printed off 20 manuals. Now there's a queue outside the chemist of other people who want to do photocopies. This would be in like the early 90s. So I managed to print off all of our manuals, went to pay for them. Next person in the queue goes to press the button, and the photocopy doesn't work. So yeah, that's the thing around everything. Perception is projection, right? Everything is created with three minds, and everything is there you go, created with seven bodies, which is why in religions and spiritual teachings around the world, you will see so many threes and so many sevens. Does that answer your question, Alex?
Most remarkably. Thank you very much. And yes, I live at number 3, as it happens.
Good.
And my next question, because I'm going to compete with Roger, is when are you going to teach tarot, please?
Oh, okay. Well, I do teach tarot in our Personal Empowerment Breakthrough Intensive, which I'm renaming for either later this year or next year as The Wizard's Secrets. Having had feedback from people who've done the program previously. I don't teach the tarot as far as a method of divination. Because I don't believe that's what it's actually for. And in Personal Empowerment Breakthrough Intensive and the to be now named The Wizard's Secrets, I do teach how to use the major arcana of the tarot, which is these, for meditation and for creating what you want in your life. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, that'll do.
okay, that'll do. All right.
Thank you very much indeed. Beautiful. Thank you.
All right. Sally.
So Dan has a question, Dan Lake.
Dan. Where's Dan? I've got to go and look for him on the screen. Wave at me, Dan. I've got you, Dan. Yeah, in your
Hi.
library. See,
Yeah, my desk is a little high, so I'm feeling a bit short here, which is quite fun. Dave, so this is a good question for you, I think. So does your higher self have values? The reason I kind of went into this one was kind of in the Kabbalion, it says as above, so below, and as below, so above. So yeah, that was what got me on thinking about it. So I thought I'd ask that question.
Values in this lifetime would be in here, in your unconscious. Obviously, if we're using the as above, so below, then does your higher self have values? Not in the same way, not as chunked down way as your unconscious mind has. So you could say that a person's purpose is a very, very, very high level value.
Okay.
And then how you express it. I'll share something very, very personal with you. When I first got into personal development and coaching and all that kind of stuff, I did a personality profile, which was the DISC system. I think you're aware of the DISC system, DISC. And when I did this thing way back in 1990, my compliance score on DISC came out as 1.
Very
low. 1 to 20. It came out as 1, right? And the guy had never seen this ever before. And he said, this was his words, which is interesting with your question. If it wasn't for your values, you'd be a psychopath. And, you know, equally, I get asked questions as far as higher self, everything's perfect. Question I get asked, does that mean that people like Hitler didn't have a higher self? No, he had a higher self. Did Hitler's higher self perceive that what he did in his lifetime was perfect? Yes. So, you know, my purpose in life is global transformation by changing the thinking of the world. I don't know what Hitler's purpose was. If it was global transformation, did he achieve that? Yeah, he did. But the higher self is beyond judgment. It's beyond the level of the physical plane, the emotional plane. Everybody's higher self has a purpose. They may or may not achieve that. And however they achieve it, as far as their higher self is concerned, that's perfect. Your values in this lifetime, which is what the guy was talking about, the DISC guy was talking about, was that the values that I have in this lifetime, obviously highly non-compliant, but I don't think it would take long for people to work that one out. But I have other values determine how I actualize global transformation on the physical level. Does that answer your question, Dan?
Yeah, I think it does. So yeah, I think it does. So yes is the short answer. And
Short answer, yeah.
yeah.
But you probably got more to think about now.
Yeah, too. And it's also I like the kind of the context of judgment around values and the purpose, because you know, that purpose can really fit into a lot of different abstract ways, right, for different people. So
Judgment
nice.
is down here,
Yeah,
not up there.
gotcha.
And I was just looking around in my library. I know you love books, Dan, and
I've got a whole David Shepherd section.
Since you met me, your library has grown massively.
Oh,
And Hitler is somebody that I've done a lot of research into, actually. I thought I might be able to find a book, but I can't see it now. But Hitler was massively into magic. The SS actually was a magical order. If you look into the history of it, yeah. So if you're into that kind of stuff, I'll put the books in the the group.
I love your crazy books. I've read so many of them now, and they every time it's like, okay, here we go.
Here we go. Yeah, I can't find it now, but then finding one book out of 3,000 is probably a little bit.
That's all right. It'll come to you. That's fine. Well, anyway, thank you for answering the question, Dave.
Okay, Dan. Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Linda Weatherly, not on the sofa, you're up.
Not on the sofa.
Not on the sofa. Where did we
In
get
the
that
office,
from in the
no.
first place? There's some magic happening here. One, I'd just like, before I ask my question, I've just realized my numerology is 30 and my house number is 30. So, okay. Equally,
Right.
the person who I use my Huna with, which, you know, I learned with you, sent me a text, as always happens when we're doing something like this. So what my question is, and I was going to ask it last week, in line with the whole thing we did about dreams, how do premonitions fit in with dreams? If you get a premonition, as I do with them, and it's like a big dream, so I'd wake up, bolt upright and go, okay, this is more than a dream. And then they've always proved themselves to be right. So that was that bit. And then I can see where it fits. All of what we're doing on this series is making a sense of my, what I don't want to keep calling strange experiences in life, but it's the magic of them. And that's why I'm liking learning. It seems like I have an open channel somewhere, because I get business visions and I get personal premonitions, and they are always right. So either I'm walking around with a complete open channel and I hadn't realized it. That was my basic question to make sense of all that.
Okay. I'm sure you've asked me that before, Linda, but the answer is, well, here's the thing. Your higher self is the creator of your future.
Mm.
And your future is everything and everyone in it.
Okay.
So when somebody has a premonition, what they're doing is they are getting access to what they are creating in their future,
Ah,
for everything and everyone in it,
okay, that makes sense.
which also means that you can change it.
Okay. Not that
How-
they've been bad ones, they've been good ones.
Right. Sometimes people have premonitions of things that they don't want to have happen.
Yes, I mean, I've had a couple of those and I've managed to work around it. But okay, I'm getting that.
Yeah. So if you have a premonition it's what you want, cool, go with it, make it happen.
Okay.
Because when you initially have the premonition, it's here.
Yeah.
You then need to bring it down to here to make it physically happen.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Hence,
Which I
when I
think-
was younger and I used to get them so physically strongly, I couldn't ignore it.
Yep.
And I would take action immediately and go do something about it, which has had all the positive events in my life, like saving my mum's life 4 times through premonitions.
Now, I know on previous sessions you've talked about we got a premonition and then you didn't manage to bring it successfully down to the physical because somebody else did it.
Ah, the work ones, yes.
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 Which would be an example of there being stuff in there.
Yeah.
About either you can't do it or it's not okay for you to have it.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, if somebody has a premonition that they don't like, this is what you do. Because you know, a lot of people get them in dreams.
Well,
you know,
I do.
and particularly if it's something you don't like, they call it a nightmare. So what you do is, if you wake up from the nightmare, then you run the nightmare in reverse to the point where it started to take a track that you don't want. And then you run it forward in the way you want it to happen.
Right.
And then go back to sleep.
I'm seeing like videotape. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Which is possibly where Richard Bandler got the idea of the fast phobia model from. I don't know, but
Ah,
could be.
okay.
Don't know why I just suddenly felt like picking this up, but this is King Arthur's.
Oh, lovely.
This is King Arthur's dagger, by the way.
Interesting.
It's what you use to do Ho'oponopono.
Yeah. Got it. Thank you for picking that up. Great.
Other questions, Sally?
Just hang on 1 second. No more questions. Comment from
Cool.
Adrian about an amazing session. So much fresh quality content in a new light. So
Great stuff. That's what these sessions are all about. You know, I've got so much weird stuff in my place. I don't know if you've seen this thing here. And this is Scandinavian magical implement. This is meant to be a unicorn's horn. Obviously, it's not real. And you know, when I first bought it, I thought you'd use it like this. But no, then I worked out you use it like this. This is like a spark gap in a transmitter. And you line it up to where you want to send the energy to between the spark gap. And then you go and blow it out to whoever's in your aim, as it were. Yep. So there we go. Good session tonight. Brilliant. Thanks for being here. Obviously, the recording will be out tomorrow. Session 7, the final one, is astral marketing. Now, if you think what we've been talking about so far is fucking weird, then, and you love it, then you're going to love next week's session, which, as a spiritual entrepreneur, how do we do marketing and draw to us our potential customers? And it will be based on this model and that model and a specific technique that I use, that we use, and it really works. It has people come and knock on your door and go, I don't know why, I suddenly thought of you and I want to know what you do. And I'm interested in doing it. Okay. So that's next week. So thanks for being here, guys. Again, really appreciate you guys being here physically. It makes such a difference. And also thank you to all the people who are watching the replays, because of timings, because of whatever. Obviously, I know we're on holiday time. We've also got people from all around the world, which either this is late at night or early in the morning. Whether you, if you're joining us virtually, thank you for at least joining us. We feel your energy. And also thank you, all of you guys, for being here in the moment. I really, really appreciate it. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week for Astral Marketing.